I won't do it.
Yes, you will. Come on, Scott. There's 59 films in the stupid Disney animated canon. There's at least some that you must find good.
Nope, you can't make me. You see, Mark? It's the 5th Dirty Disney Dozen, and honestly, I'm getting kinda tired of films that are really shitty. Bad remakes and direct-to-video crap from the same damn studio. It makes me so angry. Also, my friend Mark B asking me to mention something bright. Well, guess what, Mark? You dick! All right.
You mean you'll do it?
Yeah.
This should be fun.
Ah, jeez.
It's about bloody time.
Instant regret. I never thought that Disney would make great movies. Of course, Mark and Alex thought they were the bee's knees. The films won Oscars, but please hold the applause. I think they're all faux pas. Well, shit! There are some good ones. My hate for them is well known from both near and far. Even hate the one about the kid with a guitar. But my viewpoint is balanced, my intellect enhanced. Over these films I've glanced, and God, they're not the bad guys. It's the lost Triple D, and this time they're good. So don't expect to see that film Robin Hood. I've seen enough bad flicks from damn Hollywood. One last Triple D in all likelihood. First things first, no Pixar, they don't count.
Aw, damn.
Secondly, no direct-to-DVD.
Meh.
Thirdly, kill me. Jungle Book has left me shook. Peter Pan was a travesty. But I guess there are rare films that I will grant some amnesty. It looks like I've been hoisted by my own petard. Complimenting Disney has fucking left me scarred. A stop clock is right twice, so I'll try and make nice. It's a big sacrifice, so fuck! Let's get the shit started! Dirty Disney Dozen has come to an end. There's no more Disney fans for me to offend. Let's discuss the good ones before I vomit. These films have fucked me. I'm screaming like a banshee. One last Triple D because the rest are shit. Yeah! Cue the music. Hello there, Capers, and welcome to Pod Capers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. My name is Scott James Marriage. Of the show, we talk about various geek and nerdly related topics and enjoy each week by special guests Alex Mirabal, Mark Russell. Let's just get this shit over with! So it's come to this. The 5th Dirty Disney Dozen. We've been doing this since we fucking started this whole business. And now finally it's time. At last, after numerous shitty live-action remakes, directed DVD shitballs, and, of course, main animated feature fuck-ups, to talk about the few Disney movies that I think are actually good. I'm disappointed in myself. And it makes sense that I'm joined by two Disney apologists, Alex and Mark.
That's a strong word for me.
Fair enough.
I am a Disney centrist.
Fair. Okay, so then we got what? Then we got a good mixture, a good spectrum.
They'll fucking kill me if I ever refer to myself as a centrist ever again. Kill me.
Fair enough. Purely for Disney, nothing else. So yeah, It's been a long road, but here's the thing. I've constantly maintained that the reason why I have critical objectivity is because I can acknowledge when something works and when something doesn't. And I've used this with Disney. I say that I'm allowed to viciously tear apart all their shit movies because I do acknowledge when they occasionally do something right, even if it's just by accident. And unfortunately, that particular crow has come home to roost. So here we go. A baker's dozen, 13 of some actually good Disney movies. Mark, try not to be too smug.
I will just be happy that you do like some. I won't be smug.
Well, some of them I'm reluctant to like, others I'm very enthusiastic to like. Who knows, maybe this will be soul cleansing. Maybe this will be good for me. I don't know. So let's start with something that I think is underrated, or at least not talked about a lot. The Rescuers Down Under. So, a bit of a rare one. This is an example of a sequel that I think far surpasses the original.
I agree, the original one's kind of boring.
That's a polite way of putting it.
I had both. My parents, I guess at a garage sale or something, bought this massive VHS Disney collection for me. So I think I watched it a lot, and the original when I was little, but I have not watched it at all recently. And I don't remember anything about it, except I think there was a small blonde child.
There was indeed a small blonde child.
All right.
That is the, not really the main character, but definitely the main MacGuffin. A young Australian boy named Cody, because it was the 90s and every boy had to be named either Zach or Cody, possibly both. And who is unique among Australians as he has a... The what?
They have to live a sweet life.
Oh, boy.
Sweet life. You're looking at someone who did not watch the Disney Channel growing up.
No, that's fair. It's just it's a very meme show, so I know it's interesting.
That is true. I am a big fan of, what would you like on the radio? Am or fum? That does make me smile just a little bit. But Cody, despite his generic name, is unique among Australians due to the fact that he has a perfect American accent.
He's a good American Australian boy,
I guess. But he gets captured by this evil poacher, and so the rescuers, i.e. Bernard and Bianca, not Bernard as the Americans call him, because we say Bernard, George Bernard Shaw. That's how it's pronounced.
I don't remember if are they American mice or are they...
He's American. Bernard is American because he's voiced by Bob Newhart.
Okay.
But Bianca, I think she's Hungarian because Eva Gabor voices her.
Okay. Well, then it is Bernard because he's American.
Sure. I don't know. But this sounds like, a contrived setup. Oh, there's a kid in danger and two mice have to rescue him. But the movie surprises you with its depth, its, sweeping visuals, its heart, and indeed its humor. And indeed, I think the main point that anyone talking favourably about this movie brings up first is the animation quality. It is spectacular. I know this is firmly in the Disney Renaissance at this point, but it's still great.
Yeah, I think it's considered a flop within the Disney Renaissance, right? Because this is not as well-known. A rare flop when
because Jeffrey Katzenberg's an idiot.
Yeah.
That's true of anything.
It underperformed at the box office, ranking 4th below Home Alone, Rocky V, and Child's Play 2, which for Disney is basically the kiss of death. So,
yeah, but all those movies, fair. Maybe not Rocky, but fair.
Home Alone, would we call Home Alone fair? I call it above fair. For a Chris Columbus movie.
For losing to those movies are fairly popular and
Okay,
huge
yeah.
Better than losing to the Care Bears movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I'll never forget that delicious humiliation. But, I mean, despite underperforming, I think it is very good. The voice performances are great, despite the fact it was when did The Rescuers come out?
77? I might be wrong on that.
77. So this movie comes out 23 years later, and they get the same voice cast, and they basically give the same performance, if not slightly better. Although one character did have to be replaced. Well, this is in the original. The big albatross was called Orville, and in this version, it's his brother Wilbur, voiced by John Candy.
Hey.
Yeah,
that's a good joke that Animal Crossing also made.
Disney's lawsuit will no doubt be forthcoming.
Up yours, children.
Disney's good at the late sequels. So this is well, not like they're hit or miss in general, but the really late sequels that have the same cast and are like living off nostalgia. They're very good at getting those people back for that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, because I guess paycheck and, Disney is good on putting on the pressure, just it's for the kids, that sort of thing. But honestly, I think this movie does really elevate itself above the original. Admittedly, that's not hard because, like you said, Mark, the original Rescuers is boring, and also there's a naked lady in one scene. Look it up.
I remember that.
It's real. But it's really cool, and I do have some problems with it. There's this Australian kangaroo mouse thing, and it seems like they're setting him up to get in the way of Bernard and Bianca's relationship, but that doesn't really go anywhere. It's why even do that? And also, there's this massive plot hole. Spoiler alert for this movie for people who can't really remember it or haven't seen it. But there's a whole bunch of animals that have been captured by this evil George C. Scott poacher. Yeah. And the rescuers do manage to rescue the little boy, but they forget to rescue the animals. And the poacher dies at the end, so their fate is sort of left ambiguous, to say the least. My personal headcanon is that they starved to death.
Oh, Delissa got them out.
Of course it is.
Just in their cages, because they never said, let's remember to go and get the rest of them. No. As far as we know, they've been left there to rot. There's no way for them to get out. It's a pretty big plot hole.
Well, the lizard's quite good at unlocking doors, so he might have got them all out.
Yeah, but can we count on that?
No.
Can we really count on that? It's a shame because I do like those animals. I do like a lot of the side characters in this movie. They're all pretty funny. Like that lizard is sort of hyper manic, and I also like this one koala that's just a real buzzkill, and they're just like, oh no, however shall we get out of here? And it's like, we're all gonna get out of here. You'll get out as a purse, you'll get out of as a wallet, you'll get out as a handbag, we're all gonna get out of here. We'll just be dead. And I'm just like, I like you, cynical koala. Good for you.
The weird thing is, he's voiced by the same actor who did Princess Jasmine's dad in Aladdin. It's like, that's weird.
Blimey. If only he was that self-aware in that movie, things might have gone better. Okay, side note, this isn't relevant, but this has been bugging me about that character in Aladdin. He played the Sultan, right?
He's alright.
Can't get out of here without...
I need it. I need a little outlet, okay? Just bear with me, okay? This is important for my mental health. So in the final scene where Aladdin's fighting Jafar and Jasmine's being useless, what happened to the Sultan? We see him earlier when he's in, I think it's the Jester's outfit, and then he just sort of disappears from the entire scene. There's no reaction shot of him seeing, this giant snake or this giant red demon genie. He doesn't appear again on screen until the very end of the scene. Did he just excuse himself?
Yeah, he's going to get a sandwich.
Or crackers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I keep it low down this list because there's not that much to talk about. I just think it's a genuinely undervalued and enjoyable film. But also, I do want to point out the magnificent sequence where the boy's flying around with the giant eagle. Although, side note, how come the mice can talk but the eagle can't? What are the rules of this world? I don't understand. Like, other birds can talk. Orville the albatross can talk. Why can't the eagle talk?
It's a choice. It's a personal choice.
Yeah, it's a personal choice.
Vow of silence, maybe. Who knows? But no, the scene where he's flying around the eagle, that is, I think, one of the best animated sequences of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a fair...
I don't remember.
Fair enough. I mean, if nothing else, just go check out that scene on YouTube or something, because it is worth a watch. And it's, it's very 90s, like sweeping and dramatic, like, yeah! But, it's still fun. And I think, if nothing else, that's what we can call the Rescues Down Under. Fun. Which brings us on to the next one. Something that is also fun, but actually has a bit more depth to it. And honestly, my personal favorite on this entire list, Treasure Planet.
Hey!
Yes!
Oh.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
On my ass. It was a fantastic film.
Okay, so I've talked about this before, so I'll keep it brief, but here's the story behind it. Before The Little Mermaid, the guys who made this movie, Ron Clements and John Musker, went up to, it wouldn't be Bob Iger, it would have been
Michael Eisner.
Michael Eisner?
Yeah.
Yeah, they went up to it and says, hey, we've got this great idea for a space treasure planet story. And they're like, nah, do this mermaid story, then we'll do your space story. Okay, fine. That's the nature of the industry. You do something for a paycheck, and then you can do what you want later on. They did the mermaid story. It goes gangbusters. I don't know why. People have no taste. And then, so they say, okay, fine, can we do our treasure planet story? No, we want you to work on these other things instead. Okay, fine. And that's what they did. They just delayed throughout the entirety of the 90s. All they wanted to do was make this one movie. They keep on giving hit after hit after hit after hit. And Disney are just like, no, go fuck yourself. Then finally, they're just like, guys, let us do our fucking space story. And they're like, okay, fine. But we'll botch up the marketing so people think it's bad. They won't go and see it. And we'll claim like, oh, clearly it was just too much of a risk. And we'll never do anything like that again. And yeah, that's basically what happened. A incredible movie got sidelined by Disney's marketing team, despite the fact that they put a lot of effort into the actual production.
Isn't the budget for that movie like up there? Because it's CG and 2D, right?
Exactly. In fact, they practiced for combining, one of the main characters, Long John Silver's arm, his mechanical arm, because he's a cyborg, is entirely 3D animated. And so to practice for this, they got old animation stills of Captain Hook from Peter Pan, and they reanimated over his arm a mechanical cyborg arm to see if it could be done using that technology. And it worked really well, so they incorporated into the movie. And I love the animation of the movie, the way they combine 3D and 2D animation together in ways that would work for those kinds of animations, so they don't clash. It's really well animated. And on top of that, I love the visual aesthetic. A lot of people complain about this movie when they say, oh, it's in space, but it utilizes like the Regency, Georgian, aesthetic of when the book by Robert Louis Stevenson was originally
and that's sick as hell.
Yes, because it's unique.
Is sick as hell.
I mean, what was the alternative? They just do another Treasure Island adaptation? That could work, but they want to do a space movie. So what's the alternative to that? Do just a space movie? Just another generic? Okay, the great thing about sci-fi is you can incorporate lots of cool visual designs and elements, but as you say, it's sick as hell when they combine these two different aesthetics to create something unique that hasn't been seen before. It's spaceships, but they're actually like sailing ships in space. That is cool! And I love that. But that's just the visuals. That's something that Rescuers Down Under had going for. But what Rescuers Down Under didn't have as strong as was character. Really great character. I mean, Jim Hawkins is one of the best animated protagonists, I think, because he's so interesting and unique. He starts so cliche, like, ooh, I'm a rebel, I'm really moody and stuff. But that's just part of his character arc and his relationship with Long John Silver is the highlight of the movie. It's so sweet!
It's beautiful, isn't it?
He's a very classical early 2000s character. I like his vibes.
But with depth and creativity and subtlety. Like, it has those cliches, but it knows what to do with them, when to leave them aside and when to use them to, add to the whole oomph of the movie, I guess. And it's not just these two main characters. The side characters are great as well. I love Dr. Doppler. I love Captain Amelia.
I have a crush on Captain Amelia.
Who doesn't? Like, it's a cat lady, but she's in charge, and she has authority, and she's voiced by Emma Thompson!
Yeah, and she's a pirate. It's just like, well, not a pirate. She's just a sea captain, but, a pirate aesthetic. And just good vibes all around. I love her.
Yeah, this leads me to the one criticism I have of this movie is that, it's an adaptation, so you're going to change stuff. I'm fine with that. They change a lot of stuff from the original novel. But they keep some characters' names, but not others. Jim Hawkins, Long John Silver, Mr. Arrow, Billy Bones, characters like that, they keep their names. But instead of Israel Hands, we have Mr. Scroope. Instead of Captain Abraham Smollett, we have Captain Amelia. And that really annoys me, because, why would you get rid of her last name? Why not just have it be Amelia Smollett? I'm fine with the gender flip. That's great. I don't care about that. But why not just call her Captain Smollett? There's no different. And Dr. Livesay is now Dr. Doppler? What the hell? And there is no Squire Trelawney. How dare you? But aside from that, it's still got some great characters. I even like Ben Gunn, the robot version voiced by Martin Short. I know a lot of people don't like him. I think he's funny. Just was I ever dancing with an android named Lupe? That's funny.
Yeah, that's what the marketing leans so heavily on him. He doesn't even come in until fucking 3/4 of the movie.
Which is accurate to the book and makes sense, and he doesn't overstay his welcome, and he has an important reason for being there. He ties into the story very closely. So it works for me. The whole movie works for me. I love the relationship between Jim Hawkins and his mum. I love the fact that his dad is not dead, but just up and abandoned his family, which sounds really callous of me.
Rough. But that's a real. It feels more real than his dad died. It feels more real as a plot point.
Yeah, because it's part of it's a big part of his, character development. It's mentioned before, but it's not over mentioned. It's not the sole reason for any of his motivations, but also it's revealed to us. It's actually revealed before this, it's referenced and stuff, but it's first visually revealed to us. We first see it during this great song number by the guy from the Goo Goo Dolls. This song called I'm Still Here, which I can't sing, so I'm not even going to attempt. But it's a great song.
Yeah,
it's a great montage of events, and there's tragedy, there's action, there's drama, and there was going to be a sequel. They were going to cast Willem Dafoe as a robot pirate antagonist. But before he could actually get to the recording studio for his first recording session, they cancelled the movie because they just didn't care. Yeah, boo. Boo is right.
We don't understand how to market non-musical films.
We've got to have money.
You could have had money if you'd have marketed it properly, but didn't care. And thankfully, it has since then gotten a huge cult following, huge nostalgic following. People still like it. And I think it's because of the effort that's present in every part of it. The plot, the characters, the animation, the voice cast is great. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Brian Murray, David Hyde Pierce, who's always great, Emma Thompson, who we don't deserve. Martin Short, Roscoe Lee Brown as Mr. Arrow. He's fantastic. Laurie Metcalf. They even managed to sneak in Tony Jay from the very beginning when he's narrating this little holographic book pirate story. That's great. And yeah, it's just so cute. And also, why do I not own a Morph plushie?
That's why.
Need that in my life.
It would need to be a slime.
Give us a Ditto.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. It's Ditto, but not horrifying. Ditto is horrifying. Ditto is an eldritch abomination. Morph is a sweet, delightful, syrupy treasure. I mean, is there anything else we can really say about this movie?
Put it in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, that's a... Okay, so I have given up trying to understand Kingdom Hearts. I know we did a whole episode where you, Mark, tried to explain it to me.
I tried.
But they put Big Hero 6 in it, but not Treasure Planet? It's not like... I mean, okay, I know Disney have tried for years to get Square Enix to listen to them when it comes to what to put in and what not to put in. And Square Enix just fuck you, I do what I want. But... So,
I mean, the last one was so heavily like, we're just gonna do properties from the year we started making this game, and not the year that it's gonna come out.
Yeah, because I mean, Disney and Pixar are very hands-on with Kingdom Hearts 3. So you can't do this with the Frozen characters. You can't do this with the Toy Story characters.
That whole thing. I don't. The sad thing is the gameplay looks really cool, but I don't want to play it because A, that's giving money to Disney, and I'm already doing enough of that already. I don't want to add to the avalanche. But I don't know. That's a whole other separate conversation. But when people ask me, do you have a favorite Disney movie? I say, yeah, Treasure Planet. And they either agree with me, like you two sane, smart, tasteful people, or they look at me like I've got two heads. And yeah, I think then we should now move on because there's so much more we want to talk about. The Great Mouse Detective.
Woo!
I love The Great Mouse Detective.
Oh, Ratigan.
Basically.
I mean, I've struggled with my feelings about this movie because it's like, okay, so you want to do Sherlock Holmes, but you're not doing Sherlock Holmes. But then I realized it's based on these other books. So I kind of gave it some leeway, and then I just came to the conclusion, like, why am I worrying about, like, the adaptation kerfuffle when I should just be focusing on the movie? Okay, I'm going to focus on the movie. Oh, the movie's good. Why was I stressing? Why was I worrying?
The movie's very good.
The movie's very good. I like it because it's got a good mystery. It's not the most complicated mystery I've ever seen in terms of, like, animation or movies, but it's still really good for kids. And it's a lot of fun, and I like the fact that they weren't afraid to make the main character just a little bit of a bitch.
Yeah, he's an asshole. I love him.
But a fun arsehole.
Also, it's fucking scary.
Yeah.
The movie's scary as hell. Fucking fake queen. She's a nightmare.
I mean, that's what you pointed out. I was going to go for, like, the bat at the very beginning where you're like, blurg!
And the fucking toy shop is fucking terrible.
But that's
scary movie.
But that's, I think, why it works, because, I mean, that's in very much of the British oeuvre, you know? We like making, you know, kid-friendly entertainment that scares the bejesus out of them. It's something that Don Bluth does very well. Did he work on this movie? He must have done.
No, he left Disney, like, 10 years beforehand.
Okay, so I was getting a bit confused because the animation style looked, I guess, a little bit like him. I don't know. But it is scary, but I think that's part of what makes it great, because it's kind of gothic in a way, because it's set in Victorian times, Sherlock Holmes. That works, and also, it's got its fair share of funny moments, silly moments, cutesy moments, sexually confusing moments. What is up with the cabaret dance? I don't know. Why?
What?
Disney, why would you give a mouse tits?
How else do you know it, girl?
Don't kink-shame me!
How else do you know it, girl, if no boob?
Eyelash! Feminine voice! Pronouns! Anything! There are options, Disney! This is a conversation that is, you know, complicated, and I don't want to go into it in case the Lola Bunny simps make an appearance. Oh God, they're here! Man the barricades!
Oh goody, wait till we get to Space Jam 2 review.
Look, she had top surgery, and I'm proud of her.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else than just personal preference, back pain is no joke. You know, she's an athlete. It's important. Anyway. So the Great Mouse Detective. One of the reasons I struggle with this movie is because I wasn't sure how I felt about the little girl character. She's fine. You know what? She's fine. I don't have an issue with her. Maybe it was when I was younger, when I was a kid. It was like
she's very cute. I liked her.
Very Scottish.
She's a cute little Scottish girl. I love her.
And pretty big duck.
But also, I like a dad character. I like him. And okay, so we got to talk about this. We got to talk about this. Vincent Price, genius,
Fantastic.
Just as hello, Basil. Can I do Vincent Price? I think with some work I could do Vincent Price. But no, he's such a fun villain because I mean a lot of villains go sort of like the more animalistic, the more primal savagery route, and others are more gentlemanly, and there's a bit of a spectrum in between, I guess. But Ratigan sort of combines both elements. For the vast majority of the movie, he's, this, charming, gentlemanly rat. Uh-oh, you said rat. Suddenly, he's a complete and utter thug. And Vincent Price does both. I mean, yeah, when he goes really animalistic at the end of the movie, he doesn't really. He stops voicing him at this point, but because he's such a. I don't know. He's like the most American Shakespearean actor I know, and that's why he can portray this villainous role so well. I feel bad for him because he got. I don't want to say he got typecasted. He played a lot of villains, but he could, play.
He had fun with it.
He had fun with it. I mean, he was the. I mean, aside from like the cabaret mouse dancers, he was the only one to have a song, and damn right. About how he was so sad that he was going to have to kill his arch nemesis. Only he could do that. Actually, no, his henchman also got a song. That's the thing. This is the weird period of Disney where they had songs but also didn't and weren't quite willing to hire Phil Collins yet. So yeah, it's. I mean, what are your standout moments aside from the scariness and the sexiness of it all from that movie?
I mean, Ratigan, that's the big one. Is he's just so fucking good. Like, anytime I create a villain or write a villain, that's like the aesthetic I want. So much of and I think it's like unconsciously, I have written so many things and so many like D&D characters that are just straight out of. But yeah, they're just straight out of Great Mouse Detective. That movie has like shaped so much of like what I want to be doing writing wise with like different characters. I do like Child of Inventor character fucking constantly. Like, I do it all the time, and I didn't even fucking remember that was a thing until we started talking about the girl and her dad, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, that was her archetype.
Yeah, but
I fucking love this movie.
I mean, it's a great movie. It's got. Do you know what I like about it? I like the atmosphere. In any given scene, I love the atmosphere probably the most because I mean, there's in the funny scenes, it's very atmospheric, and the dark and gloomy scenes, and I love how. There's just little moments, like when Ratigan becomes king. Not really, but like again, I'm pretty sure that's not how the monarchy works. I don't claim to be a monarchist scholar, but I'm pretty sure line of succession-wise, the queen can't just give it away to whoever she likes.
Nope.
Otherwise, imagine if that happened during the reign of Mad King George. A tree would be king,
You don't know what the government system of British mice are.
Yeah, very different.
I like to think I have an inkling. But I mean, there's a little there's a little scene, and he's announced as king, and everyone's like, and this one little kid just blows a raspberry, and it's like it's silly and it's a little goofy, but it works. It works in this movie, and that's what I like. There's so many elements that you think would be discordant with each other, but they all work together. They all fit, and I think it might be because those discordant elements that. This movie is kind of difficult to put into a very neat box. Mm-hmm. It's, I think you could put it into a box if you really struggled, but, it's very easy to put Aladdin into a box, Pocahontas, Hunchback of Notre Dame, all these movies. Basil at Baker Street, it's a mystery. You could argue that's the core of it, but there's so many other things going for it. But they all work. Which is great for the audience, less so for the marketers. But as far as I can tell, they can go to hell. So, you know. I mean, what's your standout moment, Mark, from this movie?
Oh, it has to be the scene in Big Ben. I think that when Rattigan he just abandons his soiree and just goes full on beast mode and chases after Basil, I think it's just terrifying a moment for the character. And the fun fact is that all the scenery was created by Pixar.
Really? I didn't know that.
I believe it was done by... I may be wrong. I believe it was one of the first uses of computer-generated animation in not in just Disney's history, but in cinema itself. So I may be wrong about that. Someone will probably quote me on it, but I think that's just it helps to make the scene even more dramatic.
Well, it was 1986, so that would be early. It would be one of the first, at very least, if not the first. So, and yeah, it does make this whole scene more... I mean, Big Ben's a great place for a climactic confrontation. So, yeah, it's a fantastic movie that isn't easily described, but very easily enjoyed. And another movie that suffers from a similar problem, but I think it still manages to succeed despite it, is Hercules. Bless my soul!
Hercules is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mine too.
I can see why.
It is. That movie is quite the awakening. As kids,
I wonder why.
Both Meg and Herc are so fucking good.
Okay, so. I will freely admit, with no shame or remorse, that I am 100% a Meg simp. I'm a Susan Egan simp. I don't care that she has close ties to Disney. Yeah, because, leaving aside the amazing performance of Susan Egan, she's such a fantastic character. She's great, not just for a Disney movie, just in general. Not even for a children's movie, just in general. She's a great character. This femme fatale with a heart of gold. I love her.
You can, there is a direct line from this movie to me naming my cat Selena. Yeah. It is, she is the exact archetype that I fucking go nuts for. And even Hades is my favorite kind of villain archetype that is just I'm evil, but also I'm gonna have fun with it.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I am, unlike Susan Egan, I am not a fan of James Woods. He's a bit of a bastard.
No, yeah, James Woods can go fuck himself.
Absolutely. But his performance was excellent. That's because he ad-libbed a lot of stuff, especially the Meg scenes. He really put on this smooshy sort of used car dealership vibe. And it works really well. But that's the thing about this movie. He's portraying Hades, Lord of the Underworld. And he's playing up like a car salesman, and there's gospel music, and there's Las Vegas overtones in some terms of the aesthetic. And that's why I think it's both this movie's failing and its greatest strength. Because, again, a lot of discordant elements that don't necessarily work as well as Basil at Baker Street, but it makes for a very unique viewing experience, and I can't honestly say it's a terrible idea. It does work. There are some scenes where they start getting a bit serious, and they don't include those elements because it doesn't work, and whereas Basil at Baker Street could include those elements, and it would work in the serious stuff.
This is probably one of the darkest and obviously Disney Renaissance went there, but fucking Meg fully dies. A romantic lead sacrifices herself and dies for our hero, and he has to go swim in hell to go save her. That's terrifying and super dark. And then there's also fucking Danny DeVito, which is the most accurate representation of a satyr I have ever fucking seen. Satyrs are supposed to be fucking tiny horny weirdos. That's where the
original
horny
fuckboy
comes from. That's literally where the term horny comes from. Is you would get turned into a satyr if you sexually harassed people.
which seems more like a reward than a punishment. Like, oh no, goat legs, but now I get to fuck everything because that's what we're known for. Like, I don't understand Greek mythology, and that's one criticism that this movie that people have. This movie is like, oh, it's not similar to Greek mythology. Like, Hades wasn't that bad of a guy. This whole kidnap thing aside, and Hera is supposed to hate Hercules. But here's the thing: mythology. It starts off as oral traditions, gets changed with each retelling. I am fine with movies changing mythology. It doesn't even have to be vaguely similar. Like, if we can have, like, Percy Jackson, like, admittedly that does stick pretty close to mythology, we can have Hercules.
I mean, the Hercules and all, like, mythology is what we've done and created for superheroes, so it's not shocking that we all like that kind of thing. Is because all those stories get fucking retold over and over and over again with some of the same elements, but like big changes. And if you have that knowledge, it's like being like, well, actually in this story Dionysus was the bad guy of this story, and he didn't he wasn't really called Dionysus back then. Like it's just fucking that. Like it's fucking trying to figure out someone's trajectory in like DC comics. It's that.
Yeah, there's no point really scrutinizing it. Just enjoy the story they're being told. And this is an enjoyable story worth being told. I will say, honestly, its biggest flaw is the main character. There are times when he works really well. Like when Herc has been a lovable dork, that's great. That I'm into.
He's the classic himbo.
He is a complete... I need a himbo. I'm holding out for a himbo till the end of the night.
He created a generation of himbo lovers. And I can only thank him for that.
And as I say, I love Danny DeVito. He's great. Also, who knew that he could sing?
Yeah. All of the music in that movie is fucking good. There's not a single, like... not banger. Every single one of them just fucking kills it every single time.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think of one that I actually don't like. I am inclined to agree with you. I think the best one is probably, just from a purely technical standpoint, is I Won't Say I'm in Love.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's my favorite one.
Because Susan Egan, you know.
Yeah, but then also like the muses on top of it. Like it's just a good like combination.
Yeah. Also, although I will say, how dare you movies start with Charlton Heston and then just get rid of him?
Oh, yeah.
Like, either just don't have him at all, or keep him throughout the whole thing. Imagine Charlton Heston doing, like, the gospel music chorus bits. Imagine that.
This is actually one of the, like, live-action Disneys I'm actually kind of excited for, mostly because I want to see who they get for the muses. Because, like, the muses are some of like the first and most popular Black women in Disney, just period.
They're definitely not one of the first ones, but they are definitely one of the most popular with good reason. Right. One of the first ones is probably that centaur from Fantasia that we don't talk about. You know what I mean? Yes.
I admit to. I'm because you know. The Lion King remake destroyed me, as you know very well, Scott. But I think the Hercules...
Yes, I was there. I saw it.
I know, it's terrible. But I think Hercules has potential if they can get it just right. I mean, they can go two ways about it. They can just remake the original one, or they do something different with it. I have to see how that goes. Well, hopefully they don't butcher it.
I would hope that they like try to stick to the aesthetic of the original. If they try to make it like more realistic, I'm gonna throw something, because that didn't work for Mulan. No. It's not gonna like, and there's less animals, so it's like we're not gonna have like CGI nightmares. I feel like
we want to do a CGI replicant of a real Hydra. Like no. That's a good point. Who would they get to play Phil then?
To get Danny DeVito again.
Just Danny DeVito again.
That's a good point. Actually, yeah. If they can get fucking Mufasa back from the original, they can get Danny DeVito.
Just like he is a satyr. Like he's just a human embodiment of a satyr. Like he's just playing the same exact like. His character on Always Sunny is just Phil again, but like rated R. So, like, just let him do it.
Yeah, why not? And I think oh god, it kind of got me excited now. They will ruin it. Inevitably, they'll ruin it. But
They haven't done any of the casting that you have seen online doesn't exist. There's been no casting. Noah Centineo is not Hercules. I would throw everything out the window.
He's going to be in that Black Adam movie.
He is going to be in Black Adam, and I'm dreading it because he's a terrible actor.
I'm not sure if he's a terrible actor, but he's never been in a single good movie. So why does he have a career? I don't get it.
Because he's a Vine boy. He has an internet following.
Oh no! Oh
yeah.
Oh jeez. I mean, I like Vine, but oh no, jeez. Anyway, so yeah, it's. I mean, Hercules is very much a patchwork movie, and the styles clash, but you enjoy each style. Mm-hmm. And
Hercules and Emperor's New Groove, I kind of put in like the same kind of vibes, where they're like historically in one place, but going wildly somewhere else with its references.
Which transitions us nicely to The Emperor's New Groove. But before we do that, let's have an ad. And we're back. Okay, so The Emperor's New Groove. This movie is one of the funniest animated films I have ever seen in my entire gosh dang diddly life. It's hilarious from start to finish. Which is surprising considering the fact that it's got David Spade as the main character. I never thought I'd say that.
Yeah, David Spade funny? That doesn't happen. But like... It has such a fucking fantastic cast, and it went through fucking development hell.
God, yeah.
They completely scrapped like the whole movie and had to start over.
The infamous Sweatbox documentary.
Yeah, they I don't remember like a lot of the details, but I do know that they got Eartha Kitt before they figured out what kind of movie it was going to be, and she had a musical number.
Yeah,
Yzma was a totally different kind of character, and this movie was gonna be a musical. Her song is still like out there on the internet. I can't remember what it's called, but it's so fucking.
They used it at Disneyland, actually.
Yeah, it's really good.
I've got to check that out. I missed an opportunity to hear Eartha Kitt sing. I'm so disappointed in myself.
She's a fucking. I actually I have a D&D character that is like a classical lounge singer, and so I've just been listening to Eartha Kitt songs over and over again, and she's so fucking funny. She was cast to be a classic Disney villain, and she was so for that. But then it turned into a comedy, and she's like, "Fuck yeah, let's go! I can do that too."
Oh, I have a comedic psychic. Who is it? Patrick Warburton? I will make this work. Eartha Kitt, Patrick Warburton, separate. Very funny actors. Together, could this work? Yes! Apparently! Because Absolutely. This movie is gold!
It's so good!
And then you combine John Goodman with David Spade, and that also works? And... Mm-hmm. And I mean,
it's all coming together.
Oh, yeah. I mean... I want to hate this movie because it's yet another terrible adaptation of a Hans Christian Andersen story. The Emperor's New Clothes, The Emperor's New Groove, it's not even remotely similar, and they still claim it's based on that. But, at some point you just have to say, fuck it, who cares? This story that we end up getting is still great because, I mean, we could just when we talk about this movie, just quote the movie, and that would explain it.
Forward lever, Scott. Why
do we even have that lever? Don't tell me. We're about to go over a huge waterfall.
Yep.
Shark rock was at the bottom?
Most likely.
Bring it on.
The fucking whole diner scene. That's 10 minutes of just fucking pure gold. Where they're going in and out, telling Kronk different... orders. He's like, got it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Even though cheese. Cheese up. Cheese in.
Oh god, it's so. Do you know this? I love movies that are just effortlessly funny. Some movies you can see they really try to make good jokes, and it's still funny. This movie, it's not like they didn't try. That doesn't come across, but it's just so easily funny. Every I don't think there's a single joke that doesn't work. Honestly, the only thing that doesn't really work for me is a lot of the more I say a lot of, there are very few of them, slightly more heartfelt scenes, but you know what? they're still okay. They still work within the context of the movie and this character's development. I'm fine with it. And so, yeah, it's the Emperor's New Groove. That's the thing. This is the thing. This is why I hate Disney so much, because Frozen doesn't work, but the Emperor's New Groove does? What fucking dice of the gods are they rolling with over there? I don't get it. Because I mean, at first it just seems like, on paper, the plot seems like a generic adventure story. Oh no, something's gone wrong, we've got to go here to go and get it. But that's not why we watch the movie compared to something like Brother Bear, for example. We watch the movie because it's just a laugh riot from start to finish. But it's great kind of humor because it's humor that kids can appreciate, but adults can enjoy, which is rare for Disney. Other movies manage it. Disney, I find, rarely tread that line, and I'm fine with it as long as, they manage to hit one of those demographics. Usually it's better if it's for the kids, because that's who they're aimed at. But yeah, it's I don't want to repeat myself, but it's just so fucking funny, and the animation works well to that sort of style. It works well in its favor. It's the point where it almost feels like a DreamWorks movie more than a Disney movie.
Yeah, it does have that vibe. I will, just so this is on record and something that we should definitely note, Disney did just fucking use the aesthetic of a culture and none of the people from it.
That is a very good point.
There's nothing here other than aesthetic that implies Maya or Inca.
I think it is Inca, because it's Peru is Inca, yeah. David Spade, any Incan ancestry? No, I doubt it.
I fucking, super doubt it. At least Rodel Dorado had Hispanics. Had Latin Americans in that movie. This movie got nobody. It's all, Eartha Kitt is the only, non-white person in that movie.
And honestly, with the possible exception of Eartha Kitt and Patrick Warburton, I could happily replace all the other voice actors. I like John Goodman. I think he's good in this movie. But you could have gotten someone else to play his role, I think, that was from that area or descended from that area.
Early 2000s were just we're colorblind casting. It would be racist if we put the actual people in that culture in these roles.
So let's get a 99% white cast instead.
Exactly.
Yeah, this kind of hypocrisy is nothing new, and it is a count against this movie's favour. A lot of these movies' favour, to be perfectly honest. Although I say not, because films like Mulan came before it, and that featured an Asian cast. Granted, not all of the voice actors for that were Chinese, but... And
not all the singing voices that they marketed very heavily were Chinese.
That's another good point.
Let B.D. Wong sing. He's such a good singer.
It was Donny Osmond they got to replace him. Yeah. The whitest guy you could have gotten.
He's just the singing voice, too. He has nothing to do with Shang. He's just the singing voice. B.D. Wong is a professional Broadway actor. And...
he's not just a Jurassic Park minor character. He's a multi-threat actor. Which brings us nicely to Mulan. My biggest problem with this movie is the motivation of the main character. She is solely motivated to joining up the army just to protect her dad, which isn't a terrible motivation, but considering how many people hold this movie up as a shining pinnacle of a great feminist character, which in fairness they should, I don't disagree with that at all, but her motivation is entirely, revolving around a guy, and unfortunately there was a point in the movie where they could have easily emphasized how, that's why she started doing this, but at the end of the day, she's doing it for herself and for her country. So we're talking about the to be a man sequence. She's got to climb up the pole and all that stuff. And it's right after, not B.D. Wong, says, pack up, go home, you're through. And that's got its own separate issues, but I'm going to try and focus my criticism just for a moment. And... this could have been the moment where there's just I could leave and everything would be fine, but actually, you know what? I want to stay. I want to do this myself. I started doing this for my dad, but now I want to do it for me. And they kind kind of do that if you're being very charitable, purely from a visual standpoint. But there's no conversation later on that says, actually, I'm here for myself. It's all about her dad, which is fine, but it's not entirely what I want for the character. But you've got to criticize a movie for what it is, not for what you want it to be. And what it is confusing in terms of the bureaucracy of the army's hiring practices. Okay, here we go. So, I do like this movie, I want to point out. But, so, one man from every family has to serve in the Imperial Army. Okay, with you. The only man in this family is patriarch of the Far family, even though it's meant to be the Hua family, but anyway. Except he's got a dodgy leg, and he's got a cane. So would they accept him? Would they accept him as an infantry person? If he couldn't pass the basic training that Mulan, a woman in her physical prime, struggled to pass, would he even be accepted in? If he was accepted in, would he be given a role in the front lines, or would he be pushed to the back lines as a support role or something administrative? Anything. What are the stakes here, is what I'm asking.
I feel like that's something with, I think, all drafts. I mean, obviously they're not going to go into the details of like what drafts are, but I feel like with all drafts, if you're not physically fit, you're either not going to be drafted or you're not going to, once you get there, they're going to be like, all right, we're going to put you on something else because this is where you're better at, and not put you in the front line. But they were expecting an old man and got someone they thought was like a young, like the youngest in the family and the most spry young man, and so they were like, oh hell yeah, let's put him in the front.
Yeah, I just could have used, because I mean, if his life, I mean, the whole reason why she joined up was because she thought his life was in direct danger, and I'm just not sure how present that danger was. And I'm not saying that she should have gotten rid of the danger, oh no, because then her motivation would have made a lot more sense. It's like one small criticism that I have about the movie, just something that doesn't feel quite right to me. Everything else I think is fucking brilliant, aside from, like the singing voices. Because Mulan's a fucking great character. She's awesome. The side characters are awesome. Yes, even Eddie Murphy. I mean, dishonor on your cow. Why not? And there's so many people have now, in the wake of the dreaded 2020 live-action remake, gone back to this movie and, to my everlasting enjoyment, started to appreciate it a lot more. And they appreciated it a lot to begin with. This was a very popular movie.
Yeah.
And people are just talking about all these different things about it that they hadn't realized first time watching. In particular, I've talked about this before, the song Reflection has sort of been adopted by specifically the trans community, with good reason. Something, internal self not necessarily matching the outer self. It's obvious reasons, but it's also because it's a great song. And with great characters, great side characters. Who here likes the grandma?
Hooray!
Yeah, we're raising our hands. No one's seeing this.
Because they're all raising their hands as well, so they know, because no one dislikes the grandma character. She's awesome. And what I particularly love about it is the animation style. Disney occasionally has changed up their animation style to reflect time period, culture, geographical location. And so they try to emulate certain Chinese art styles. It's like the backgrounds and a few things. And there's like a girl we're fighting for scene where they got like they're talking about their, preferred kind of girl. And I like little touches like that. And I also like that scene where they're talking about a girl we're fighting for, and then they suddenly stop as they see a devastated village.
That's a great cut.
Yeah.
What was that, Mark?
That's a great cut.
It's a great cut, but it's also great on a thematic level.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about what kind of girl they like to bang, essentially. And then they discover this little girl's doll. And it's almost on a subtextual level. This girl that's been killed, presumably by the Huns, suddenly becomes the girl that they're fighting for. Little touches like that, I think, are fantastic. And
I think Shan Yu's a great
Mulan.
villain.
Sorry?
I think Shan Yu's a great villain, at least in terms of...
Why?
Personality-wise, not really. But I think the level of intimidation he can give is like, a little girl's missing her doll. We better return it to her. And they've massacred everybody. So that's a...
brace yourself, Mark.
That's okay, fire away.
Scoop. This is super uncomfortable.
But here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
I would argue that the portrayal of Shan Yu could be...
Racist?
Yeah, it's racist.
It's the eyes, isn't it?
It's the eyes and lots of other things, and also the fact that he's just got, like, no motivation other than wall.
Wall.
Is that it? You put up a wall, therefore invasion. Like, was everyone else okay with this? Okay, so we're going to war against China? Yes. Cool, why? Have they dishonored us? Are they making moves to attack us? Are they crippling our economy? No, they had a wall. So I have a family. Who cares? But yeah, the betrayal. Other people would argue this better than I could because they have more historical knowledge and, you know, better cultural clues. I have a lot of privilege, so I can't definitively say why it's racist, but we know it's racist, and yet it is the physicality and the way they draw it. Like, no, I'm sorry, but no one that does not have a severe disease and is about to drop dead has black eyes with yellow irises. That's not a thing, Disney.
It survives an avalanche. I mean, how is that even possible?
I mean, technically it's possible. I don't know why he survives and just like 10 of his men that we've already seen. Like, all the extras in his army, anyone who didn't get enough screen time, just dead. Imagine that. And let's not forget, our main character killed them.
Yes.
Mulan is... I love this about Mulan, though. She's a quote-unquote Disney princess. She's not really, but she's a Disney princess with a body count. That's amazing.
Upgrades, people. Upgrades.
And, you know, I talked about her relationship with her dad and the motivation. Now I'm not a big fan of that, but I do like her relationship with her dad. Her actual interactions that she has with her father. It's so sweet.
Mm-hmm. Greatest gift and honor is having you for a daughter.
Yeah, but what's great about that scene is because she presents him with a bunch of gifts that she got from the Emperor, and he just like neatly puts to one side and gets what he actually wants: a hug from his daughter. Aww. That's I like it, but it's not like the relationship is all sunshine and rainbows. You know, they argue and you know they have, you know, they bust up over dinner because she doesn't want him to go to war, and yeah, it's great, and apparently it's more historically accurate than you might think. I've talked about previously how there's this YouTuber, I'm going to mess up their name, Jiren J. Zhao, I think it is, who does these great breakdowns of all the things that are historically accurate and inaccurate about...
Oh, yeah, I've been watching her shit. I love that.
Me too.
I mean, they're fantastic, and I highly recommend you see them out if you're not watching them already, Capers. But it's also very informative because they know what they're talking about. A, being, you know, Chinese, but also being a fantastic author and, you know, knowing their shit. And and apparently when they were doing their research, the storyboard artists and the animators and people who worked behind the scenes on the 1990s Mulan movie responded to like their live tweets about the research they were doing. Their
first video was originally a tweet thread. Was like, here's all the things that like I noticed in Mulan and like, you know, all this stuff, and then like the production designers like hopped on it because it got really popular. So it wasn't like, this is the research I'm doing. This I've already done the research. Here's my conclusions about that, and I'm just gonna make a long tweet thread about it, and then everyone's like, you need to make this a YouTube video.
I mean, they literally start their videos with, have you ever been so mad about something that you started a YouTube channel and it got really popular overnight? I mean, it's definitely worth checking out. It was very educational for me as someone who isn't very familiar with that culture and the true depths of that kind of history. But the great thing about Mulan is, even if you aren't familiar with that kind of history and that kind of cultural context, it's still a great movie. Because unlike a lot of stuff Disney's doing right now, as much as representation is great, it didn't need to rely on it being marketed as really great for representation. It was just a great movie that happened to have pretty good representation. So we're going to skip ahead a bit of time now and go on to Tangled.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like Tangled. I'm just as surprised as you are. It's a good movie because it's sweet, it's heartfelt, it's got good songs, good animation, good voice acting, but it's also funny. Genuinely funny. It's not as funny as something like The Emperor's New Groove, but it's got its moments where I think it really, really is funny, but it also works with all these other elements. Because, again, it's a fairy tale. It changes a lot of stuff from the original fairy tale, but I don't care, much like mythology, because start off as oral traditions, you're allowed to change them. That's fine. If the story you end up coming up with is actually good itself. And it is. It comes up with all this whole unique mythology that is expanded upon further, I believe. I don't know, I haven't seen a lot of it, in the TV series.
I watched that. It's quite cool.
I haven't, so I can't really comment on it, but I really like it in the movie. There's not, thinking about it, there's not a single character in Tangled I don't like. They're all interesting in their own unique ways. Can we talk about how fucked up Mother Gothel is?
Oh, dreadful woman. Dreadful woman.
Because I've heard that people like defended her online, like saying, "Oh no, she really loved Rapunzel deep down." And at first, when I watched that movie, I first thought that too. But then I listened to what other people were saying about her, and I did a bit of reflection, watched the movie again, looked a bit closer, and I realized, like, oh no, this is a very unhealthy relationship. I mean...
Yes, I mean, she's using her to stay young and is going to kill her friends and isolate her from everyone just to get what she wants. That's a textbook abuse.
Absolutely, but beyond that, I thought, like, deep down, there was maybe, like, a little bit of, like, emotional ambiguity. Like, maybe over time, she really did care about her. But one thing that someone pointed out, this doesn't come from me, it comes from someone else. I thought, ooh, that's brilliant. Every time she says, "I love you" to Rapunzel, she's either looking at, touching, or kissing her hair. Not looking her in the face.
Also, if she did care about Rapunzel, it doesn't fucking matter. Because your treatment of her is abusive, that, like, it doesn't matter what her feelings are.
No, absolutely, you're right. And that's another layer of complexity. And that's what I like about it. It's a clearly abusive relationship that is shown to be clearly abusive. Beauty and the Beast.
It gets worse in the TV series when they learn the full extent of what Gothel has done to Rapunzel. And other spoilery stuff, which I shall not bring up in case someone plans on watching the TV series.
You know, I might just. If is it on Disney Plus?
Yeah, I believe the first 2 seasons are. I don't know why the third one isn't though.
No, maybe there's a backlog. Maybe you got all these new star things out. Jesus, but I mean, just little things about the movie, like a sword fight with a frying pan. That's stupid, and I love it. I am 100% here for it. It's great, and oh my god, my favorite character is probably the horse. Yeah. I forget his name, but the fucking horse is brilliant because he's so determined in his pursuit of this criminal. Flynn.
Maximus. The horse's name Maximus.
Maximus. He's just like, give that horse a police badge and we solve all crime in the kingdom. I am certain of it. He's like Sherlock Holmes, but a horse. It's so funny. But also I love the emotional sincerity in the movie. I like how it never comes across as schmaltzy or contrived. Like, the best thing for me is the scene where Rapunzel finally gets out of the tower for the first time, and she steps onto grass with her bare feet for the very first time, and then she goes through all of the emotions. Like, all of them. Every single one. Happiness, fear, excitement, concern, anxiety. It's all in this one montage, and yeah, that makes sense. And I like it when Disney actually shows a degree of emotional awareness. Because they don't have a great track record with that. And it also...
I'm partial to Flynn. I like Zachary Levi a lot.
Oh no, he's hot!
That too. But he's very good at being kind of dorky hot man.
I mean, you're absolutely right. Dorky hot man, smooth talker, but not really. Like, the best scene for me is the scene where he first wakes up after being captured in Rapunzel's tower, and he's just like, I didn't want to have to do this, but here comes the smolder. It does not work. Has no effect.
Just smacks him in the face with a pot or the pan.
Yeah, because, again, it's a level of self-awareness. Like, he's smooth and he's cool and he's funny and he's charming, but it's because he thinks he is, and she's not having any of it.
It's almost like Zachary Levi has been typecast his entire career as a dork pretending to be sexy.
Oh my god, you're right! That's...
Chuck and Shazam, exact same fucking character.
I wouldn't say Shazam is the exact same character, but there are similarities, I do grant you.
Like, trying to, like pretending to be this, like, hot shot when in reality he is a 13-year-old boy. Like... that is fair.
And... yeah, and I love the fact that the movie isn't afraid to poke fun at him, isn't afraid to poke fun at Rapunzel, pokes fun at all the characters. I will say there's a slight abundance of animal sidekicks. I know there's only 2, but seriously, why do we need the chameleon? Why does she have a chameleon? Why is there a chameleon in this European, like, Central European fantasy land? Like,
plush merch.
Plus.
The easiest to turn into a plushie.
We've got to have money.
Yeah, I don't blame you for saying that. It's... yeah, but and it's just annoying because the chameleon fucking doesn't... what was even its name?
Pascal.
Why was it called Pascal? I don't know.
Because he's a painter.
Oh, and she paints. Also, that's another thing. Yeah. That's another little detail. I love that she paints. I love that she's got this great artistic expression about her. I love... the artistic expression of the movie. I love the colours. I love how beautiful and incandescent every scene is. And I fucking love the fact that all these vicious, hard-bitten criminal thugs have dreams. Yay! Again, it's silly, but it works. It works as well. This whole movie fucking works. And it's great. I love... and unlike other movies like, say, Hercules... I also love the serious bits. I love the sincere bits, the emotional bits. I love the sad bits. I love the fact that the parents of Rapunzel don't ever talk and all of their emotions are conveyed purely by expression. They didn't need to do that, and the movie would have worked just fine without it, but it adds an extra something that makes it stand out.
Yeah, if there's a... early on in the TV series, this is not exactly a spoiler, but what they give the King and Queen obviously personalities. The King's voiced by Clancy Brown, I believe.
Another reason to watch it.
And I believe he kind of, with very good reason, he kind of goes King Triton on Rapunzel in terms of, I must protect you from everything because you have been missing for years, I love you. And I think it's a really good characterization for him.
Yeah, that makes sense more so than Triton, I guess. I mean, it makes sense after the fact with Triton because if that turns out, like, his wife was killed by humans...
Mm-hmm.
Why wasn't that mentioned in the first movie? But yeah, that makes sense for the Clancy Brown King. And yeah, again, emotional sincerity and emotional self-awareness go a long way in a movie. And the music is great as well. I don't like all the songs. Like, At Last I See the Light it's fine. It doesn't really do anything for me. Mm-hmm. But I love the I Have a Dream song. I love Mother Knows Best because it's great.
Yeah.
The voice actor for Mother Gothel is Donna Murphy, who's got a huge Broadway list of credits as long as your arm, as well as turning up in like one of the last pre-reboot Star Trek movies and as Otto Octavius' wife.
That went well.
Yeah, but no, she's got this great theatricality about her. She's sort of like a villainous Susan Egan, actually, thinking about it. And it works really well.
Tangled is a very, like, classic Disney movie with, like, modern, like the casting decisions and the art direction and the animal companions. So much of that is, like, heavy. We're pulling from Disney Renaissance and earlier, but, like, it has the comedy of, like, a modern movie.
And that's the thing, actually. The marketing for the movie, I think Lindsay Ellis once commented on this in one of her videos. The marketing of the movie was designed to emulate what DreamWorks was doing at the time. This whole thing with, like, the raised eyebrow, like just hair covering the screen except for their eyes, and just like, ooh, raised eyebrows.
Oh yeah, focusing on Flynn. Yeah. He would absolutely, yeah.
And the movie's not really like that, but it has its own unique charm. Yes, it does borrow from its previous things, but unlike those movies, it adds to them with an authentic sensibility, a modern sensibility, but also in a way that kind of feels timeless. At least for me. I mean, time will tell. Though the question is, people aren't talking about this movie nearly as much as they're talking about Frozen, and that concerns me.
Mm-hmm. What?
Yeah.
Do you know what else concerns me? Corruption in the church. Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Damn.
That movie so fucking is weird. It's a weird one, but it's so good.
Every time does he got balls?
Yeah, because so it is a terrible adaptation of Victor Hugo's original novel. Do you want a list of all the people who died? Just go look it up. Go read it yourself, you Philistines. But yeah, I still think it is a fantastic movie. You know what? This movie does have some problems. It does have some flaws, like any movie. But I will never not respect this movie because it took risks, as you said, Mark. There's a bunch of stuff like... So, Frollo, his movie is no longer a church official or a priest. He's now a judge. But they kept a bunch of the sexual impropriety. So that's...
Yeah, he's still super religious and super skeevy.
Don't kink shame me!
Very modern.
No, we will! You're sexually aroused by fire, Frollo! You're a pyrophiliac! Clearly. Because, yeah, I mean... This is a movie of highs and lows. It's mostly highs, but the lows are really low. I'm looking at you, gargoyles. Not those gargoyles, the bad gargoyles. Because... they could work. They could work. Jason Alexander as a gargoyle, that could work. It doesn't.
It's like the core cast is fucking so fantastic and like killing it with these songs, and then like Disney was like, "Oh, this is too dark. We need." So like the gargoyles feel so separate from the rest of the movie because it feels like an afterthought.
Yeah. Which we fine if it wasn't for the fact that a lot of the movie does focus on them. Like, they're shoehorned into so many scenes. They even get their own musical number. Mon Dieu above, she's gotta love a guy like you. Before that, we get the Hellfire. Like, one of these things is not like the other.
God Help the Outcasts is like...
Yeah.
Oh my god. And then Happy Gargoyle Time!
It's tonal whiplash. They don't, and here's the thing: a lot of people have commented on how there was either a plan, or a lot of people thought that what they were going to do was make the gargoyles part of Quasimodo's imagination, like he imagined up these friends for himself, but they're not actually real, which would have been devastatingly clever. They did not do that, so it's just kind of stupid. But like I said, the highs outnumber the lows, and they make up for them because they are so high. The music, spectacular.
Oh my god.
I mean, we start... They included Gregorian chanting in a kids' movie, and it works so dramatically. Hellfire, we mentioned earlier, it's often regarded as one of the best villain songs of all time, for good reason. Tony J did a magnificent job with it. The visuals are stunning and striking. It's a great character moment for Frollo. But also, like, Disney got in trouble for that because they had to draw fire clothes on Fire Esmeralda because people thought she was fire naked.
Right.
Great.
It's.
I mean, and that song has been like super acclaimed. Like in the text of the movie, it is terrible, and it is obviously a villain song. But outside of it, out of context, it very much can be a gay anthem. Like,
well,
suppressing feelings that God's gonna smite you for. If you're like a gay kid growing up in the church, that is something that you can super latch onto.
I'm very much
course,
all for that.
Frollo himself is not a person you should be. But like, there's some like good like lesbian covers of Hellfire.
That very much is. I'm all for that right up until the point where it's just like, you're going to be mine or I'm going to kill you. I don't like that part in terms of like being a gay anthem. That brings up some negative connotations.
It's the same reason why people like latch so hard onto Nightmare on Elm Street 2, which is also super gay, but also like implies that gay people are killers. Like, but it is also like, it is a lot of queer people really like horror stuff because of that kind of, as was like, we're suppressed and told to like keep it down our whole lives, and then we can just fucking get weird with it. Horror movies are great.
They can be good for that. And movies like this, where they have a strong focus on this concept of the outsider. So, like Quasimodo, for example, I mean, he's a great example of that because he is deemed like not fit to be part of society because of how he looks, and so is forced to be put away and boxed up. And then there's the quote unquote gypsies.
Yeah.
No, can we all just agree as a society, just stop calling them that, because it's a horrible misnomer that they hate. So let's just not call them Romany or even just their fucking names. Who knows? And again, we get into a bit of an issue with representation. Yeah, sure, Demi Moore, you're Romany. No, but. And again, the movie again does not portray that great, because a lot of people have pointed out like, oh, so it's like meant to be a sympathetic portrayal, but then it shows like their underground lair that's full of them like wanting to murder people who happen to stumble onto them. It's like
it's not. I mean, that's something that is actually book accurate.
Yeah, it's book accurate, but let's not forget the time period where that was written. And
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, like they could have updated it. They could have done a better version of it, and they did some of it. Like they didn't make, because like, and it's something that I don't know much about the original novel, but I do know that like it has this plot line where Esmeralda is secretly not Romani. She's white, and she was kidnapped as a baby. And her mom was so distraught that she died. It was bad.
Imagine that, a distraught mother dying in a Victor Hugo-related story.
Let's be xenophobic. It's really in this year. Let's be xenophobic. It's really in this year.
Oh, dear.
I don't know why that played twice. It wasn't meant to play twice, Jesus. Ah, God. And so, like I said, there are loads of this, but again, I think Demi Moore does do a great job, although we can all just take a knee for Kevin Kline, who is always excellent in everything.
He's there. He definitely like makes it more, but like I can kind of believe that Esmeralda would go for him. Like I can get that. Like he's got some good himbo energy. But like any other actor, I would have felt like, you don't deserve her, man.
Yeah.
You're a cop. Get fucked.
Yeah, Kevin Kline really does sell that role. It's kind of a nothing role. Though it's certainly better than, again, the book counterpart, who lets Esmeralda get burnt alive while he shacks up with someone else. So,
They really definitely should have put that in a Disney movie.
Yes, and Quasimodo was also death, and dies at the end along with Esmeralda, and then their tomb is uncovered and his bones crumble to dust. That's literally how the book ends. I'm not making that shit up. Something else I'm not making shit up about. Time for another ad! And we're back. Okay, Hunchback of Notre Dame, I mean, We could go on and on about how great that movie is and how there are problems with it, but it's definitely worth a watch at least once. It's a great movie. Then we've got something like Tarzan. Tarzan's a bit more even in terms of it's less highs and lows and more like a nice, sweet, nougaty center. But I still think it works.
Yeah, Tarzan actually... Well, I had a Tarzan-themed birthday party. It came out, like, right after I was born, or, like... So it was, like... It was the movie I watched over and over and over and over and over again. I had a neighbor who lived across the street from me. Her name was Caitlin, and I did not call her that. I called her Clayton.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but that was my... Like, to the point that my... I haven't watched it in a long time recently. Like, I don't have a lot of, like, feelings about it anymore, but, like, I loved it so much as a kid. For my birthday, my dad did, like, a whole video. My birthday this year, he did, like, a whole, like, video montage thing, and the song he put into it was from Tarzan.
Which one? Which song?
It was like the lullaby one. I can't remember what it's called.
You'll be...
Oh, the one that Glenn Close sings.
Dun, 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 dun. It was done by Phil Collins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like the one actually from the movie, but it was like the Phil Collins version of it afterwards.
So let's talk about Phil Collins. On the one hand, I respect this movie for taking a risk and trying something new musically. It was different, it hadn't been done before. On the other hand, I don't think it worked very well. On the other hand, some of the songs, not all of them, but some of them are actually quite good. So
You'll Be in My Heart. That's what it's called.
That's it.
I just remembered it. Yeah.
I was wondering which one was like, which one was that? But yeah, that is a good one. Son of Man, Strangers Like Me, Two Worlds, One Family. Actually, most of them are pretty good, except for like the camp song. Just like, what even is that? Why are we getting Rosie O'Donnell scatting? Do we need that in our lives? Like, we need Rosie O'Donnell, but scatting? No. And that's another thing. The side characters, like the Rosie O'Donnell ape, the what's his face? Not Tom Kenny. Wayne Knight, elephant.
I liked him more as a kid than an adult.
Are you sure this water's sanitary?
What about bacteria?
Like, yeah, that was
very questionable.
That's cute, but then he's all grown up and just like, oh, I do not care about you. I am here for fucking Fitz from Scandal discovering his past. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for Minnie Driver surviving this jungle. That's what I'm here for, because she's excellent in it. And that's the thing. Tarzan, Jane, her dad to a certain extent, and Clayton, and, Glenn Close ape, and Lance Henriksen ape. I'm here for them. That's who I care about. Not about the fluff can take a step back. And let's just focus on these characters. And they are good characters. I like the fact that Tarzan is both, part of, the ape culture, but also removed from it. And he's constantly trying to prove himself and, going overboard and moving back. And it's very interesting. And it's a very interesting character development. And also, I would like to point out that I think this movie has possibly, in my opinion, the best Tarzan yell in cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Well, Brian Blessed is great at that, but also, no, it's the scene where he lifts up the leopard creature that killed his parents and a bunch of other things, and then he does I can't do it because it's just so great.
No, I did it so much as a kid. I had a McDonald's toy that you just would do it.
It's like a squeezy toy, but because of the yell. But no, it's such a great moment, and the camera angle, the music swells when all the apes are screaming his name. It's a really great scene. It's possibly, again, in my opinion, the best Tarzan yell. But we're not really here for the yell and the action. We're here for the character dynamics. And that's, oddly enough, a lot of what the movie focuses on. It focuses a lot on the emotion and less on what previous Tarzan adaptations have done, which is the action and the adventure and stuff. I mean, that stuff's there, but we're very much here for seeing Tarzan grow and develop and go on a journey and, his relationship with all these other characters. And they are interesting relationships.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the relationship between Tarzan and Lance Henriksen's character is quite interesting. I think, he's. I met when I was young. I think, oh, he's a jerk, but now as an adult, you kind of realize how he's a lot more protective, but also kind of like he doesn't necessarily reject Tarzan. Just kind of like, no, he does reject Tarzan. But you know what I mean? He's very. I don't trust.
He's nuanced. He's a nuanced character.
So, no, I think his the end of his arc is one of the most emotional things in a Disney movie. It's not, the dad or the mom always, every single parent in this movie nearly dies. But I think Kerchak has the good send off that Simba didn't get to have with Mufasa.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, and it's a lot of interesting and complex emotions. And this guy in the center of it all, Tarzan, not knowing where his place is, it's really interesting, I think. And it helps the fact that there's some really great animation going on. Again, combining 3D technology, but also just like, they could have just had Tarzan swing on vines, like everything else. And they could have made that fine, and it would have been very interesting from a visual standpoint. But no, they have him like using the vines, but also like surfing on the tree trunks. I mean, that's going to be nightmare on his souls. Jesus. Like, imagine taking him for a pedicure. He's got so many
calluses, it's fine.
Although that's the least of my concerns in terms of like Tarzan's physicality, because I'm just going to say it. Why doesn't Tarzan have a beard? Is he shaving? Because like not even stubble. Like he's got the full dreads and everything. Cool, fine, but yeah. No facial hair. Not even a chest hair. Not that I'm one to talk. Anyway, moving on. So, I mean, what else? I mean, again, this movie is not talked about as much outside of maybe the Phil Collins songs and one or two of the characters. And I think that is because it's more of a media movie. It didn't have a massive impact, but it was something different. Disney doing Tarzan, and I think it's an interesting exploration. It's not something that demands your attention, but it can hold it if you make the effort to go and sit down and watch it. Something that does demand your attention, I think personally, is Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
Woo! Yes! Oh my god.
Fantastic.
This movie is so outside of Disney's comfort zone, but it works. It really works. Leaving aside the fact that it kind of borrowed some elements from Stargate. We don't talk about that. Mm-hmm. It's still a fantastic movie because, again, all these different elements come together really well. I say different elements. It's actually just different elements from what Disney is used to. Again, it's an adventure movie. It's focusing on... This is a Disney movie that focuses on colonialism.
Yeah, it is a like Indiana Jones a classic Tomb Raider style like adventure that like puts the main focus on the culture of the people it's exploring or discovering.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They go on this expedition thinking they're going to find a dead, archaeological relic, and they find a living, breathing society. And it's like, oh dear. And then it turns out some people we thought were good turned out to be bad. And this is where we have to talk about this film's number one strength, which is the characters, specifically the side characters.
Oh my god, yes.
I love Michael J. Fox as Milo Thatch, but all the other characters also stand out so well. Vinny, played by Don Novello, Dr. Sweet, played by Phil Morris, who's fantastic, Claudia Christian as Helga, Jacqueline Obradors as Audrey, oh my god, Florence Stanley as Mrs. Packard. Yes!
We're all gonna die.
It's just a like fantastic, like it is weird how like self-aware this movie is, like how much they like focused on the stories of like even before you get to Atlantis, they focus on the stories of the marginalized people in the group. And then when you get there and surprise, surprise, the main villains who are manipulating everything and want to blow everything up are the two like big classically adventure heroes that are both white. Like
yeah, I mean James Garner could have easily, and I think indeed did in his youth, play those kinds of characters, but here he's the villain, and he does that spectacularly well, I might add. This is one of his last movies, and not only did he do good as what was his character's name again?
Rourke.
I don't fucking remember.
Rourke, Commander Rourke.
Rourke, that's it, Rourke.
Oh, Rourke.
I was going to say Rook, but I was like, no, that's not it. Rourke, yeah, he does great, initially portraying Rourke to be a seemingly decent guy. He seems all right. And then at the end of the movie, he betrays them all. And, he doesn't betray them all. It turns out the plan all along was to plunder the civilization. He just has no compulsions about doing it when there's living, breathing people there. And, of course, that's the line many of them aren't willing to cross, but he is. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff I could talk about regarding this movie, and maybe perhaps the contents of the British Museum. But he did such a great performance. Helga is so great as a character, and also, can we just talk about how great Cree Summer is in this movie as Kida?
Yeah.
Oh my
Why is she not
god!
part of the marketing? Why is she not?
Where she would, because this movie did so poorly, she did not get to be an official Disney princess, which is so fucking. We were robbed. There was going to be a fucking full ass ride in Disney World of like the bikes. I want that so bad, but they canceled all of that shit because the movie didn't do well.
Oh, gee, again, because they didn't market it properly, because it was outside of Disney's comfort zone. They don't know what to do with it. Just do what you usually do. Like, people say, oh, Disney's one of the greatest, film studios in the world. Yeah, but other film studios that even have half of their budget, half of their talent, and half of their abilities, in terms of marketing at least, can handle different stories of different genres. So why can't they? Jesus! And she is so cool, and she's so great. Honestly, as much as I love this movie, the movie could have been more about her. Like, if they had gotten there quicker, we spent more time with this character, she's great. Because, I mean, the whole thing about her culture and her people basically dying and stagnating, like they're surviving, but they're, a shadow of their former selves. And her wanting to help her people so much, that's so cool. I love her relationship with her Leonard Nimoy dad. Because, and that's the thing about this movie. The one thing I will say is possibly a negative. They show at the beginning the downfall of Atlantis, but later on, Leonard Nimoy describes it like, we used our technology and all our advancements to make weapons of war, and that was our downfall, which is a very interesting idea. I just wish they'd shown more of that. Like, we've got a good, solid couple of minutes at the beginning to show how not only things were great with Atlantis, and rather than just its destruction. Because just to see how far they've come centuries down the line. Because we look at the civilization right now, and it seems to be doing okay, but apparently, again, they're a shadow of the former self. So I would have liked to see a visual example of that, Beyond the giant
fact that,
force field
Kida
shaft.
can't, it is such an interesting thing that, a princess of this society, it's such a shadow of its former self that Kida can't read. She can't read her own language.
Yeah. Because they just become so disconnected and time has passed.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And that does lead to a little bit of a problem where, the white guy has to come and explain her own culture to her.
Yeah, absolutely. But, from what I've seen, from what I remember of the movie, it's more like he directly translates because he's been studying this, so he knows, it's an ancient kind of dead version of this language. And she is like, okay, that means this.
Okay, so she knows the language. She doesn't know the alphabet.
Knows the when she's told this is what this says. She's like, okay, so that's what that means. I understand what that means.
So they work together.
But she also she speaks so much. So she also she speaks so many languages because all of the languages came from Atlantis supposedly. But that it's a cool, interesting idea, and Atlantean is actually a language that they worked on on creating. Same guy who made Klingon made Atlantean.
Wow. Okay. Boy, did this movie's fair I didn't know about. And yet, that's the thing. See, this movie is funny, it's heartfelt, but it's also interesting. Them exploring these ruins, exploring this culture, and also getting to know each other. It's also very interesting. This movie fascinates me. And even the visuals, for the most part for that movie, the visuals they're great, they're fine, but they're nothing to write home about. But then all this like magical shit starts having all these beams of light going everywhere, and suddenly becomes a visual masterpiece.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous movie that has fantastic world building. I want more.
Oh, you want more, do you? You want more? Well, that's the thing, you see. Disney doesn't want to give you more, like you said, because they're hacks! You see, Alex? Disney shit, Disney shit. How I hate Disney shit. Hate the crap they sell to little kids. They feed us constant lies, only want our money. Hate to see them raking in the quids. Disney shit, devoid of style and wit. Believe me, I just hate their overall. Sure, these ones here are bad, but the rest make me mad. God, I hate Disney movies, no duh. Why don't they make more films like these ones? But don't mess up the marketing. I will shoot them with my fuck of shotgun. I'll set them on fire, shove grenades up their arse. It sounds like overkill, but this whole thing's a farce.
Oh god, calm down, you weirdo. Shut up, Scott, you psycho. Disney likes cash, we know. You're not saying anything new. 5 times I've endured. Disney rants I've matured, but you haven't, you twat. Let's review. Your rants are like earthquakes, hit the films and remakes, everything made in the house of nows. So will you please just stop, put an end to your strop. One last dirty Disney dozen.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing, you see. This is why I hate Disney so much, because they give us stuff like Atlantis, and then they just take it away from us. And it's so rare that they're willing to actually buckle down and actually just focus on something. And arguably the thing that they came closest to doing so, at least recently, was Zootopia, or Zootropolis, as it's sometimes known.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of, deep feelings about it either way. It exists.
Oh, I mean, fair enough. I think it's really good.
I saw it twice.
That's just me. What's that, Mark?
One of the few Disney films I've seen twice in the cinema because I thought it was that good.
Oh, wow, yeah. I mean, again, white privilege, but I like what it has to say about societal issues regarding discrimination, prejudice, and race.
It's a good baseline, but it does, the message is very muddled.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, people of color are predators and we should be scared of them. But, but they've been tamed now, so they're fine now.
I think it's a great kids' first movie about racism.
Mm-hmm.
First movie. There's better ones out there.
Jack Saint actually has a fantastic, his YouTube channel Lacking Saint has a fantastic video on he has it's a multiple video series on how animal movies and media, when you try to put racism in there, it gets really muddled. But how it can be done well, and how it talks about Zootopia and Beer Stars, and there's something else that it talks about, but that's a very good video to look at. Yeah,
I kind of wonder is it Beer Stars or B Stars? I've been calling it B Stars.
No, I don't know.
I'm not an anime guy, so I don't know, but I was wondering if this movie was a direct influence on that. Who knows? But I think beyond the messaging, which I think is important and contributes to this movie being worth remembering, I also like the world and I like the characters. I like how this works. I think it could have all the best messaging in the world, but if the characters weren't even slightly enjoyable, then I would never feel any need to return to it. But I like these characters. I like Judy Hopps. I like Nick the Fox. Does he have a last name?
Wilde.
Nick Wilde. Yeah, Wilde.
Nick Wilde. And I like a lot of these side characters. Clawhausen is precious and must be protected. Just saying that. I love him. And, I mean, he does have some moments that I don't think work. Like the Idris Elba Buffalo saying, let it go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We see you, Disney. We see what you're doing there, and we don't like it. But I like how these two characters that I find interesting and do have a very interesting dynamic journey throughout this whole world and explore the ups and downs and the highs and lows and indeed how complicated this world can be. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was ambitious. It's still very much a Disney movie, and it does hold back in a lot of areas, and the messaging is muddled. It very much is. But the fact that they were willing to attempt it and they didn't completely 100% sanitize it beyond all belief, which they would have done, given half the chance, I think is a point in this movie's favour. Plus, the animation is very good. The character naming system, however, less good. Like, Emmett Otterson, Weaselton, Judy Hopps. Eventually you're going to run out of pun names. Can't you just have a guy like a porcupine named Tom Smith? And there's lots of people living in this city. And also, shame on you for not making those two antelope neighbours gay. How dare you?
I assume they were.
Yeah, I assume they were, but they weren't clear about it. They had Bert and Ernie vibes. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And, so yeah, but at least it had the messaging. One movie that chose to actually cut out that messaging, but still succeeded in its own right, I think, is Lilo and Stitch. Now, I love Lilo and Stitch. Mm-hmm. Lilo and Stitch is fucking amazing. It's fantastic. There are deleted scenes where foreign tourists, or American tourists, mainland tourists, are being microaggressive / racist towards Lilo, and they cut it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they they cut to get the teeth out of the movie.
And it's not like the movie doesn't have teeth; it does have them. But considering how racism from tourists to the islanders, to the people of Hawaii, is such a huge problem to this day, they didn't really have any right to cut it out once they had the idea for it. And they animated it. You can go online, you can see, animated animatics of it being voice acted as well. They had a responsibility to put it in, and they didn't put it in. And I think that is a mark against the movie. Thankfully, however, the movie itself is phenomenal. I love Lilo. She's an amazing character. I love Nani. She's an amazing character. Stitch, adorable little ball of destruction. Love him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Hannah meets family.
Family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten.
Okay, yours is better. Jesus, I need to work on my Stitch. God damn it. And it does have all... That's the thing, it has all these themes, and I love how when it comes to... Yeah, it pulls punches when it comes to racism, if not just completely removing the punches, but it pulls no punches when it comes to the idea of this young woman having to raise her kid sister and all the sacrifices she has to make.
I agree. I think it's a rarity to do something that's incredibly grounded on Disney's part. Because even when you got aliens running around and stuff like that, the scenes where, it's just between Lilo and her sister, and then Cobra Bubbles comes in, and he's kind of I know you're trying, Nani, but we have to think about what's best for Lilo, even if it means removing you from the picture.
His name is Cobra?
Yeah, his name's Cobra Bubbles.
I just called him Agent Bubbles or Mr. Bubbles or something like that. I didn't know his first name was Cobra. Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, his first name's Cobra.
I mean, he's Ving Rhames. Of course his first name is Cobra. Yeah. Jesus. But again, even though he is somewhat of an antagonistic character, he's not an evil person. He's not a villain. He's not out there to cause, chaos or mayhem or sadness. He's not like, Mwaha, I'm going to split these two people up. No, he's a real character that feels bad for them, but has a job to do and wants to make sure Lilo has a good home. And you never hate him for it, even though it would be so easy for them to do it. And you always feel sympathetic towards Nani. David, I have mixed feelings about him. What do you guys think?
I like David. I think he's all right. I think he could have been developed a bit better.
It exists.
It exists. Because I see a lot of people praising him online. And personally, I found so Nani made it clear that she was no interest in dating because she was so busy, working and taking care of Lilo. But he keeps on, from May's my interpretation was he was a little bit pushy. Just a little bit. Not in an obvious way, but just a little bit. It's just like, dude, you could just... I think there's one line, apologies if I'm misremembering this. She's like, I'm not interested in dating right now. And he says something to the effect of, I'll wait. And, that's not really the right answer, David. It's not a question of you waiting. It's a question of, how about you just drop it completely? Because then she's constantly aware of the fact that you're just hovering around her, waiting for an opening,
Yeah, and he's so involved in their life that it's hard to just be I'm gonna cut you out.
Yeah,
because you're being weird.
Yeah, and I like that aspect of him. If he just dropped completely and made no mention of it, but was still present in their lives, that'd be fine. That'd be good. But just something like that, I'm not a big fan of, and I just wanted your guys' take on it. But again, this is another example of the highs are so great because I love the relationship between Lilo and her sister, the relationship between Lilo and Stitch, all the thematic elements, and the alien shit. The alien shit is fun and kooky. You think it would be at odds with all of the emotional stuff, the emotional character development, but again, it fits into the movie. I think it's because, again, there's a unique creative vision driving the whole thing forward, and that shows in the visual art, because they include background watercolors to give it this really beautiful, lush, again, Hawaiian feel. Little details like that are amazing when it comes to a movie like this. It's very, again, Treasure Planet.
I think this was the last watercolor film they had done, because they had done it with Dumbo, and then I think they'd done it with Little Mermaid, so there was a bit of a time gap between films when they'd used this technique.
Yeah, but Little Mermaid, the backgrounds were, very classical sort of background. Yeah, they used watercolors, but it wasn't, it's underwater. Why not? But with the Hawaiian background, it's a very unique sort of visual style. And I think it really works in this film's favour. And of course, it helps the fact that the film is very funny, has a very naturalistic portrayal of all these relationships, and also has some fantastic lines. My personal favourite, when Stitch crashes through that windshield of the spaceship thing and goes
Aloha! One of my favorite bits is between Jumbo and Pleakley. And I think it's interesting because Jumbo's kind of like your generic mad scientist. But when he sees that, he says he's designed Stitch to do nothing but destroy things. And when Stitch runs out of things to destroy, Jumbo's like, so what does he do now? He has nothing to do now. Not even memories to visit. So he's he's kind of baffled by what happens when his creation runs out of its purpose.
Yeah, there's so many little things in this movie that are so great. The songs are great. Again, they didn't go the traditional route. They used different things. It really works. And that's the thing about this movie. It just works because you feel a sincerity to it. A sweet, genuine sincerity that makes it such an enjoyable watch. Which brings us to our final one. The 13th one. And we have a tie!
Ooh!
Because I really tried, but I just couldn't choose between these two movies because they are so unique and so worth talking about. But also, I have to wonder, does one of them count? I think one might be better than the other one. So, I'm going to leave it up to you guys. You guys are going to decide which is the final movie we're going to talk about. Option A, Meet the Robinsons. Option 2, a Goofy movie.
Oh.
Meet the Robinsons.
Mark?
Meet the Robinsons.
I'm still leaning towards a Goofy movie. Let's go with Meet the Robinsons.
Meet the Robinsons is so underrated. People talk about the Goofy movie all the goddamn time.
That's a very good point, actually. And also, a Goofy movie is not a... it was theatrical release, but it was produced by Disney Movie Tunes and Walt Disney Television Animation, so it's not a direct Walt Disney Animation Studio production. That is why I wanted Why It Counts. And I like the movie. It's fantastic. So we're going to talk about Meet the Robinsons. This movie is fucking hilarious.
I think it's very interesting.
Oh my god, it's so good.
It's a really interesting movie.
They all hated me. Hey,
we got to talk about this. So Bowler Hat Guy is one of the best Disney villains ever. Fight me.
He's so good. He's he's the epitome of I want to be oppressed so bad.
But he's also so incompetent and so funny, and he catches his diabolical master plan after years of stewing in his own misery, and his plan is to throw eggs at someone's house. And he's so funny throughout the whole movie. He's so great. He's so weird and creepy and awkward.
Big head and tiny eyes.
I'm just not sure this plan was well thought out. And he cracks me up every time. He's like those classic sort of 1950s caper villains, like mustache twirling sort of villains. And honestly, like some of the films that Disney used to do, like things like The Great Race or Magnificent Men and Their Flying Machines or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, those sorts of characters, but modern and consistently and uniquely funny. He's so funny. Everyone's funny in this movie, with the possible exception of the main character, but he's not really meant to be funny. But he's funny.
Yeah, he's just a perspective. But the scene where they're just fucking going down the list of everyone, like the family tree, is so fucking good and so solid as just a comedy bit.
Oh, God. And so there's these two guys, and I don't know who they're related to. Neither do we. Next. So many... This is one of those movies that demands your attention because there's so many jokes, so many just flying all the time, and you've got to pay attention, but you're rewarded for paying attention because...
What does your dad look like? Tom Selleck.
And then he's voiced by Tom Selleck! It's so great. And on top of that, it does have a lot of emotional moments, but these emotional moments work. But they work because they're understandable, they're relatable, but also things don't necessarily turn out the way you'd expect. So it's all centered around this one character,
Wilbur.
No, it's Lewis.
Sorry, Lewis. What was the other guy?
Wilbur is the other kid, right?
Yeah.
Will was the other kid, right? So there's this kid, Lewis, who's an inventor, but is also at an orphanage and, is wondering about, his birth parents. And it's all about, he's constantly stuck in the past. He's designing inventions for the future, but he's stuck in the past. And this brings us to the movie's main thing, which is the idea of looking forward, moving forward. One of the few good ethoses that Walt Disney actually had, even though his company has now become the legacy of looking behind. Ironic. But there's just, again, it's a small thematic element. This movie could just have been a fun, silly movie about a kid that goes to the future and has adventures with his wacky family. And that would have been fine. It would have been great. But they added this extra emotional layer that really binds the movie together. And again, it's juxtaposed with the bowler hat guy, a guy who's constantly stuck in the past, and how unhealthy that is. It's the best kind of subtle, because it's obvious, but they don't necessarily spell it out, at least not a lot. They don't telegraph it too much, like another movie I could mention. and also, there's just so many side characters, voiced by so many great actors, and just there's one of the Robinson family members is a superhero that delivers Pizza, voiced by Adam West.
Yeah.
There's there's Laurie Metcalf, Nicole Sullivan, Willivans, Angela Bassett is in it.
Yeah, she's not part of the family, but she's the orphanage lady.
Yeah, and she's great in it. And there's so many great side characters. Goob. So spoiler for this movie. Goob is like the roommate of Lewis, who gets kept up by all of experiments. So he loses his baseball game, and so he grows bitter and discontent and just stays at the orphanage in the same clothes.
And he thinks that everyone fucking hates him, and they don't.
Hey, Goof, want to come over to my house tonight? They all hated me. it's slightly weird tangent. We all remember the much maligned reboot of the Ghostbusters, and the main villain in that is this guy called Rowan. And he's treated like, he's a creepy dude who wants to bring back ghosts. And I was just sitting there watching the movie thinking, okay, here's an idea. Why don't you make him A, sympathetic, didn't do that, or B, funny, by giving him a persecution complex. Like, he thinks the world is out to get him, so he takes comfort in the land of the dead, but the truth is everyone treats him fairly normally and even quite nice. And that can be quite funny. But that movie likes to kill comedy with almost every scene.
Pull a Goob.
Just pull a Goob, because it's really, really funny to the point where he stops being the main antagonist and they bring in this new antagonist, the bowler hat itself, who turns out is the most menacing piece of headwear I've ever had the misfortune to see. It's fucking terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't even talk. There's so many creative things about this movie, so many little details, so many visual gags, so many throwing things. Some of it doesn't land, like the Japanese fight scene bit, where they talk like they're dubbed. That doesn't really land for me.
Right. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, because in 2 seconds there's going to be another joke that's going to be genuinely funny.
I'm from Canada. Oh, you mean North Montana? It's a big state.
There's so many jokes that center around an emotional nucleus, the heart of the movie, from which there's pure sunshine radiance. Honestly, I'd say the only way the movie really suffers is because there's so many side characters, so unlike Atlantis, it can't really focus on them as much. But when there's this many jokes, do you really care?
Yeah, they've all got their thing, and you understand their thing immediately after meeting them, and then we all get to see them do their thing together when they're all having dinner. It's so good.
The guy is married to a puppet.
Yep.
Oh god,
they have frog butlers, sentient frog butlers.
Okay, now grab the boy. What is it? Why aren't you grabbing the boy? It's just that I have these little arms and I'm a tiny frog person. I don't know why you thought this plan would work. They bring that joke back with the dinosaur as well. Yeah. Oh god, it's so funny. That's the thing is, when you think about it, a lot of Disney movies are described as comedies, but very few of them are actually funny. They have funny moments, which is fine, but very few of them are comedies. Mulan for a long time was probably their funniest movie. Then you got things like this, and they're leading more into humor these days, which is good. I don't think they've ever hit the same heights as this movie, though, in terms of pure comedy.
Emperor's New Groove?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Emperor's New Groove was before this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's such an underrated movie that I think kind of gets overshadowed, and so Disney hasn't done a lot of pure comedy since, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they've topped themselves, so why try any harder? But this is why I'm so annoyed at Disney, because this movie is so great. It has such a great message about keeping looking forward, and it's so funny. They can make movies like this, and Mulan, and Lilo and Stitch, and Atlantis, and Hercules, but they so rarely do, because honestly, there were a few more films that I could have put on this list, but the truth is, most of them, for me at least, are really average. Like, I contemplated putting Brother Bear on this, but the truth is, the only good parts of that movie are like the very beginning, and then it just sort of devolves after that. I don't really care about Joaquin Phoenix Bear. I'm sorry, I don't. And if I haven't mentioned a movie that Disney's made on any of our Dirty Disney Dozens, then either it's complete and utter dog shit, or it's just not good enough to be considered good. But there is a select few, an exclusive club of good Disney movies. They're there, and they should be appreciated. Are they all as good as each other? No, but they've all got their own individual flaws, but they've also got their own individual pros. The little things, those little sparks that makes them unique, not just among Disney movies, but among films in general. And it's like...
No matter what, guys, I hate Disney. Their films are all big piles of shit. Except for a few, yes, I hate Disney. And that doesn't make me a hypocrite. No matter what, guys, I hate Disney. They love to jump on a bandwagon. They are slaves to all trends, yes, I hate Disney, and I will slay them like a dragon. From their remakes to direct-to-video crap, it has been a fucking long journey. But the Dirty Disney Dozen is now done. All good stories have to end. So tell them all I hate Disney. Their films are all big piles of shit. Could they make some good movies? Well, we know they can. But they just want a box office hit. Not Mulan, not Tarzan, they want to push. They do not care, it's shitty. They'd rather market some awful sequel that I can't stand. Oh, they're an utter catastrophe. 'Cause I hate Disney, guys. With all my heart. I hate Disney, guys. Hey Disney guys. I hate Disney guys. I hate Disney guys. No matter what, guys, I hate Disney.
He hates Disney.
And I will not rest till they're dead.
He won't rest till they're
Except
dead.
for a few, yes, I hate
Disney.
Because they keep making me see red. So, no matter what, guys, I hate Disney.
He hates Disney.
But this is the last Triple D.
It's the last Triple D.
They are slaves to all trends. Yes, I hate Disney. And that's how it's always gonna be. I hate Disney.
Yes, he hates Disney.
So, final thoughts, guys.
There are good Disney movies sometimes.
There are good Disney movies sometimes. It's worth talking about. Mark, anything?
Yeah. Well, like you said, all the films we discussed are very good. The problem is that Disney don't know how to market them in the correct way. I mean, even with Lilo and Stitch, that most of the advertising involved characters from past movies, as you saw when Stitch crashed all their most iconic scenes. And when they kind of brought Stitch into the theme parks, they played up entirely the fact that he's the black sheep of the family. And it's this real stupid thing. They covered the castle of Walt Disney World in toilet paper and stuff, saying, "Oh, Stitch is a bad character. That's why we're marketing him." So they kind of, with these movies, either they don't fit the standard Disney formula, or they don't know how to market these films because they haven't ever done them before. It's like, it's not that hard to market a movie in the correct way, as long as you put some damn effort into it and know what you're doing. And don't release it against Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what,
fucking
the
hell.
one that pissed me off is mentioning the 2011 Winnie the Pooh movie, which is okay. They released it the same week as Deathly Hallows Part 2. Now, if that was an excuse to kill their own blinking traditional art animation department, I don't know what that was supposed to be. And that was a pretty good film.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't good enough to be on this list, but, it was fine. And that's the thing. I think ultimately Disney are their own worst enemy. I'd like to think that I would take that title, but turns out no. They shoot themselves in the foot more than anyone else. Of course, anytime any other studio tries to reach up to their level, they always find a way to smack them back down again.
That's just Studio Ghibli. Because they've always been above Disney's level.
But they don't view them as a threat.
No.
Even though they're so much more artistically it is pure than Disney. I'm not saying all their movies are brilliant, but they definitely try more. And there's nothing really more I could say about Disney that I haven't said in the previous 4 Dirty Disney Dozens. And that's why this is it. This is the end. We're not going to do any more Dirty Disney Dozen movies. If another Disney movie pops up that we think is worth talking about, we'll talk about it, obviously. But this has been our magnum opus. We've made our 3 individual feelings on Disney very clear by this point. And considering that we're going on nearly 100 years, over 100 years, really.
Nearly.
Around about 100 years.
2 years' time.
Yeah, 100 years.
2 years' time.
Of them existing, is there any chance that they're going to change?
We can hope.
No.
After nearly 100 years, no.
Money will make them change, and then it'll just be another 100 years before we get anything good.
Yeah, and that's a shame. But you know what we can do? We can keep complaining, we can keep bitching, we can keep joking, but more importantly, we can look back at when Disney was occasionally good and say, look at that. And there are people doing that. And we're doing that right now because Disney employs talented people, incredibly creative, wonderful, interesting people who make magnificent films. And sometimes they have to work on crap. It's a shame. But we can always go back and look at their good work and say, I remember when you made something that truly mattered. And on that note, I think we're going to end the show. Thank you both very much for joining me today, and indeed for joining me across all these 5 Dirty Disney Dozens. It's been excellent doing with you both.
I've done 3.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, sorry. It's been here since the beginning.
Oh dear. I look forward to when we do this again, when we have 1,300 more films to do, when we're all really old.
Yeah, sure. I'll do a 6th one when we're both 80.
Yay!
And there's a new fresh crop. But aside from that, if you enjoyed the show, Capers, please tell your friends, shout it from the rooftops. And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes, like the previous 4 Dirty Disney Dozens, of which Alex has only done a few, I guess. And you can listen to the show on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, or at podcapers.com. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AP2HYC. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone, the red and blue 3D glasses, those are mine. And thank you for listening. This has been Podcapers, the official podcast of a place to hang your cape. Cue the music!